folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host Lucky Stone and our special guest Cortney. Couldn't make it tonight. Unfortunate circumstances at her house. So with that, we're going to continue right on and wish Cortney well. Lucky, what do you got to say about that?
I just flew by. I just killed it. It's crazy. Things are happening. And like I said, I'm going to send Cortney because, her ceiling drywall fell into her living room, and then the insulation is in her living room. And I just basically, rather than saying, this doesn't happen, you're going to say, please help her find the easiest, most effective path to remedying the situation. That's all you can do. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, things happen.
That's the truth.
But we make the best of it. If it was going to happen,
that's all we can do.
It's fine. Anyhow, we're going to continue on tonight. We're going to be talking about Manly P. Hall and his book. This book, of course, right here. There you go, The Secret Teachings. Yeah, there's lots of varieties of that book. It doesn't matter which one you got.
They're all the same, just different publishers.
Yeah, mine is thick and big.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. They're all the same. They still have the same words. There's everybody. Elderberry's in the house. Chloe's in the house. Thank you for being here. Witchy Moon. There you go. Witchy Moon has come to join us tonight. Last time she just about missed us. And Laura Walker. Aw. Thank you. Thank you. Now, everybody, if you got any questions about what we're talking about tonight and you don't understand stuff, because this is a really good topic, just chime in a chat and me or Lucky will see your comment, and we'll try to answer your questions as best we can. But tonight we're going to dig deep into like I said, the next two chapters, which was Thoth and then Hermes Trismegistus, and then we go to the pyramids. And who was Thoth? I think it's Thoth or Thoth. Which one's right, Lucky?
I don't think there is a right way because he's 6,000 years old. So I mean, it could be Thoth, it could be Thought, it could be. So it doesn't matter. It's a THOTH. Let's go with it. Thought.
Okay. Either way.
Thought is fine.
True.
I don't think he even cares. He's long since dead. So if he's still alive, he'll correct us. How's that?
That's right. Jump in, Thoth, anytime you want. The true identity and cosmic role of Thoth. He was an Atlantean priest king and Egyptian god of wisdom. Life and legend of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice-great master of alchemy and sacred science. Tonight we're going to be talking about the secret pyramid initiation, symbolic death, spiritual resurrection and transformation, and the emerald tablets. I think y'all like to hear about, and the deeper meaning, as above, so below, how true that is, and how these ancient teachings are still relevant today as the keys to getting to be awake. So here we go, right?
Oh, yeah.
And their Saturnian sun has come to join us tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. Anyway, there we go. So where are we going to go from here? We have so basically the life writings of Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus. This guy was like the same guy, only one was an Egyptian and one was like Greek. Is that not true? Yes.
Yes.
And when he became into a Greek tradition, he became Hermes. And of course, we know him from writing the Emerald Tablets or the Hermetica. So with that, have you read anything in? I know Cortney was big into the Emerald Tablets. She had multiple shows on that. If you guys haven't read the Emerald Tablets, it's worth getting into and checking that out because there's so much to it.
Yes. It's not long. But there's a lot of detail into it.
Yeah, lots of detail. Okay, so let's see, where do we want to start? So we got the Hermes, and who was he? He was, he was kind of a Greek guy, a messenger and a guider of the souls. He was the thrice great master, meaning alchemy, astrology, and spiritual magic. We'll put it that way because I can't say that other theology or whatever it is. Another ology. So spiritual magic. We can all understand that. Big thing on the sciences. Everything kind of focuses around the science. Knowledge. Knowledge is everything, is it not?
Knowledge is important, but with knowledge, you have to know how to use it and get wisdom from it. So there's a balance to the two. Knowledge only takes you so far.
Oh, yeah. Hence, what was it? Spider-Man, remember? With great power, or great knowledge comes great power, or something like that. I guess they use
great powers comes great responsibilities.
That's it, with great powers. And great powers is knowledge. It's not your muscles, people. You could be the strongest man in the world, and if you're not smart, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Is that not true? Knowledge. I think that it's very important for knowledge. Studying. Most people get caught up in all these other things. And as I've been reading this book, it seems in there all the philosophers, pretty much all of them, talk about the material world and how we get caught up in the material world and we forget knowledge. We put it to the side and then we move on with the material, and it doesn't do us any good. And if we do come back as another life, we have to repeat that. And even the Greeks, I think it was the Greeks, that said if you didn't do anything in this lifetime, you'll have, and then on the other side you'll be forced to repeat it over and over and over again until you get it right, so you can come back or something like that. I guess I don't know exactly, but I think there's this whole life is a lesson, is it not?
Yes. I believe it comes, but I think the lessons are different, and it's hard to figure out what your lesson is, but as long as you are aware and using wisdom, because knowledge is different than wisdom, as long as you learn from knowledge and know how to use it and gain the wisdom, because knowledge only takes you so far. You can read all the knowledge you want, but once you learn how to use it in an appropriate way, you gain the wisdom.
Yes.
Hypothetically.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Even Manly P. Hall said all the world's, we're going to go into a little bit on religion, because this, all the teachings of the Hermetic philosophy from Hermes is really passed down through almost all of a lot of the religions. I don't know if all of them, I haven't researched every single religion out there, but most of them, the Gnostic circles, the Islamic, other, the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, other religions, they all contain bits of the Hermetic truth. That's what Manly P. Hall said. And I think that's true, kind of awakens me to those facts. They all borrowed from somebody else. So do you believe that Hermes was, did write the first set of philosophy rules or laws or the principles, or do you think those are just naturally known?
See, I don't know if they're the same person. I believe Thoth, Egyptian, he had a lot of information and he wrote all about it. But again, it was 6,000 years ago, if not more. And then that information was sitting around, and this guy Hermes came along and used that to you know, uh, used it for his own, uses and brought it to Greece. So, I mean, it's the same knowledge, it's just spread in a different way. Um, and then he came back to Egypt because that's where the knowledge was. And, then he wrote the Emerald Tablets, something like that. I'm not sure.
I think he wrote the Emerald Tablets first. Wasn't he in Egypt, and then the Greeks were like second? I think the Greeks were second. I think if he did exist, he might have went from Egypt to Greece, because that was a new big hub, of philosophy there. All the greats like Plato and stuff came from Greece. That's where most of the text that we know today was rewritten from other languages.
Yes, that's the truth right there. Because Greeks, well, the thing is, Egypt had a great library, and then it got burned down, and then they got another one later. So yeah, Greece did have their library, and they did use the books. Whenever a ship came, they toured the books. They didn't steal the books; they copied the books, and then kept one copy themselves and gave the other to the ship captain. Says, "Here's your book back." The scribes knew, because the scribes weren't translating anything; they were just copying word for word, because it made it, that way they could do it faster, which is better.
Yeah.
While medieval times, the monks, they kind of embellished on the things that they wrote.
Yes.
The Greeks did take, their libraries last a lot longer than a lot of the other countries. I guess I knew how to play the game.
Well, yeah, and it depends on who's in power. Remember, the rulers control history, and so forth and so on. As it's even today, it kind of works. History is molded by the people who are in charge, and we'll never know, the real truth, because they don't report the real truth. They report kind of what people want to hear. And I don't know if that's so much now as it was back in the day. I think people were more honest back then. Don't you?
Well, I think, yeah, because the information was the information, and they could share it, and people would just, look at it as is. But lately, information has to be embellished by the receiver, and he has to translate, like we're doing. We're taking the information and we're making a show out of it, and we might be embellishing here and there, intentionally. So, we could be part of the problem, but that's the nature of our society, because we get information and we want people to listen to us. So sometimes listening, or getting people to listen to you, you have to play the game.
Yeah, you got to kind of play the game, especially nowadays, where you could be cancel culture in a heartbeat.
Well, another thing is, books were hard to make back in the day, so that's probably also would make it so that the information you had, you want to show it, put it out in the best way possible. So you have to probably be honest. Well, now again, the same information could be from multiple sources, and you want them to read yours, so you go embellish it. So yeah, I guess back in the day, 100 years ago and more, they had to be more honest.
Yeah, I believe it or not, this week I did a little research on the printing press, and how the printing press is kind of like our internet of today in a crazy sort of way, because back then, just a few messages to get passed back and forth, you'd have to have a messenger and somebody who could write, and then somebody who could read it on the other end, and you'd pass messages that way. Or reading a book. Books cost as much as a person can make in a year, more or less, to be affordable.
Yes.
Like you said, they were all handwritten. A book was super expensive. No normal person could own a book and read it, especially like the Bible or something. But along came the printing press, and with the printing press, it made standardizing text, and it also made somebody be able to print out lots of papers and pass them quickly amongst, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and messages could travel over great distances in a short period of time, exactly saying the exact same thing.
Yes.
What did it do? It created wars over that printing press. It put people out of jobs. It created wars because people could get the information, so much faster. I remember somebody saying once that back in the day that what we read in one newspaper is what a person could find out in an entire year worth of information. And I'm like, wow. So you get the weekly newspaper and it's got all this stuff in it. And these people, or maybe the daily newspaper, I don't know. But this person only got that much information during a whole year. I'm like, wow. Talk about being uninformed.
Well, think of the news we have right now. A lot of the news, they make mistakes because they're so rushed to get there first, get their message out first.
Yeah.
That sometimes they don't look and they don't study everything, and they give false information. But again, they also want you to watch them because there is at least a dozen other channels you could be watching. So, if everyone was honest, I mean, I don't think we need that much news channels as it is. They're all getting the same information from the same place. So it's kind of silly.
It is. I mean, there's 40 different channels and one company that owns 40 different channels, and they all pretty much say the exact same thing, worded a little bit differently, with different people saying it. That's it.
That's it. That's the truth. Yeah.
And I think it's a standardizing thing. I mean, I think the printing press was great. Today we have the internet, which allows news to go out faster. But as you said, it could be wrong. It could be wrong news. And people go to believe it. Like I know today, it was yesterday. Yesterday, I seen this short with the Prime Minister of Canada saying that every car under the year 2000, they're going to do away with, and every car, everybody's going to have to transition, and within the next couple of years. And oh my gosh, here's the Prime Minister saying this, and it looked like him, it talked like him, but it wasn't him, and it wasn't the right wording. It was not true. It was fake, but it looked true to me, and I believed it. I sent it to Nita because she's in Canada, and then I says, "Oh, well, looks like you're going to have to, get rid of your car, and if it's old, and detint the windows, and if it had a truck, it said no more jacked up trucks, no more tinted windows, no more old trucks." I'm thinking, what is everybody going to go out and ditch their vehicle so they can go out and buy a brand new one? If you can't afford an old one, barely afford an old one, you sure can't afford a new one.
Yeah, true.
What kind of? But it was all fake. It was all fake. But had me going. How am I supposed to discern which news is correct?
Well, right now, nothing, no video you can watch. Even us, we could be deep fake. We could be. They could copy our voices. They could copy our image. The only thing, the difference is you got to show your hand. Once you show your hand, then you only need 5 fingers. For some reason, AI still has a problem with hands, which is, I guess, a very good thing. Because if you pay attention, you wait, where are the hands? They also have problems with object permanence, where they had AI making sitcoms, and one of the characters walked through a table. But again, it looked like something from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like bad jokes, something like Full House or something like that. It was that quality show with a laugh track and everything. But again, it was fake.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. I mean, I was watching these Bigfoot videos. They're Bigfoot.
The new raid.
Well, Bigfoot is like a blogger or something like that. And he says, those are friggin' amazing. And sometimes you'll have people with them too. it wow. And someone
Yeah.
just tap. Here it goes. AI created a show for me, and they're funny, they're interesting, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, speaking of Bigfoot, my buddy, he keeps sending them to me, and I'm watching them and watching them. So I looked up, yeah, and you could buy the app and put it on your phone, or get the app and have it put on your phone. And for $4.99 a month, you can make Bigfoot videos too. And I says, wow, so that's the thing. Get that, put it on your app, and within minutes you can create a Bigfoot video right on your phone. It's like, oh my gosh, and you're right, they are funny. Look at this little lamb. He's so cute. He's my friend. And later on, he's eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not such friends.
Exactly. And it's done really well, but I don't know how much human written and how much AI written at this point. Sometimes I can tell, but sometimes I just don't know anymore.
Yes, I agree. Well, and that's the thing. Back in the day, things. I think Saturnian Sun says here, Manly P. Hall had a hand on creating the imagery on the dollar bill. There you go. Symbolism, and paper. Putting images and pictures and wording out there was a way that was the old time internet. Everybody says a dollar bill, and from that dollar bill, you could get tons of messages. There's so many symbols on there. You ever take one of those dollar bills and fold it up and make an alien, or fold it up so that, does this or reads that, or, it's amazing. Who thought of this stuff? But somebody put a lot of thought into those things.
It is. I mean, this was the 90s. I had a book, and there were like a dozen different ways to fold a dollar bill and make different things with them. It was amazing. And some were optical illusions and tricks we crazily knew. Others were like an origami where you did it, but the way it was the image on the dollar bill worked out with the origami. It was just amazing what was done.
Yes, and that's so true. But that's how they pass their messages. And today it could be a text message, it could be a video. Who knows if those Bigfoot videos aren't sending crazy messages to, we wouldn't know it. We'd be thinking how funny that Bigfoot video is, but it's telling them to, press the nuclear launch codes or something. And we'd all be laughing away.
Yeah. Well, it's more like manipulating and making you think certain things and spreading an idea to you through easily. Just by watching it, you think it's just an entertaining video, but there's symbols and there's way they put things that put ideas in your head. I don't know if you did the number thing where they tell you a bunch of numbers, you add these numbers together. At the end, they ask for like a vegetable and a letter and a color. And for the most part, for most people, they get them all right. They tell you exactly what you to think by the way you do the math at the beginning. This is what we live in. There's always ways of manipulating us. If you got to be careful, like, wait, why am I thinking this way? How did I get this information in my head? And who knows? You could be manipulated and tricked into thinking this way.
Yep. And that's true. Manipulated into thinking. A lot of magic, in their words, manipulation or magic. It's been going around for hundreds of years. They have people that study this stuff, study, what makes a person tick, what makes a person agitated, what color that draws them near. And they have people, product placement in the stores. Is it magic? No, it's science. Numbers are science. That's all it is. People may think, oh, they're full of magic, but no, they just know how to add better and subtract better. They know how to do math better. I heard that saying the other day, and somebody said, oh man, these people are like gods, and the person says, no, they just know how to do math better than we do. And I'm thinking, yeah, fair statement.
Yeah, I spent an hour watching this thing on breaking down. You can add up two prime numbers to get another prime. Even it was a crazy thing. I watched an hour of this because they were trying to prove a theorem, and it was all about proving a theorem over the course of an hour. And it was just fascinating how they went. That's the thing. Numbers are numbers. It's all logical. You can't manipulate it, and that's what it was all about how we can base a lot of our science off of just staying with the numbers and not being manipulated into thinking a certain way. That science is always changing, and that was about, even though numbers are concrete, we learn more in the theorems that we couldn't prove years ago. We're having closer and closer to proving them now, because numbers don't change. Numbers are facts. You can't manipulate them. It was so interesting.
Yeah,
and who knows how much I was manipulated by that too, because it was just an hour on just prime numbers. It was all about theorems and prime numbers, and I'm still not quite sure what the end result. It was basically just adding two numbers to get a third number.
Yeah, no matter how you do math, it's always the same, regardless of what country you're from, what state you're from, or what language you speak. You put 2 plus 2 is always going to equal 4, no matter what. Well, of course, unless you do that Common Core math, and who knows from there. Hey, let's move into the Hermetic.
Sure.
What is the Hermetic? I'll give you a little definition of it here. Hermetic is a collection of sacred texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. I can even say that word. These were written in Greek and Coptic between 200 BC and 400 CE, but anyway, through the wisdom of maybe far older. Wisdom is always passed down. I think I asked this question of Cortney the other day. If King Solomon was so wise, how did he pass all his knowledge down, or just give us a tip of the iceberg knowledge? Because otherwise we'd all just study him and then we could all be knowledgeable like him, right?
Knowledge is power. Just because you have knowledge doesn't mean you deserve it. A lot of people will take knowledge and waste it. And that's why you need wisdom. Wisdom is crucial, because you got to be able to use this knowledge in the right way. And so, yes, why didn't King Solomon pass all his information on? Because some of them are going to abuse it. I mean, obviously, government, they abuse everything. And in religion, I mean, the truth in religion is that the real center of the religions would never follow the religions, because the religions are so contradictory and full of dogma, because these are people in power. They want more and more power. So, I guess the idea is that you've got to present the information in a way that those who have the focus are going to find it.
Yeah. Well, knowledge is,
you find it.
Knowledge has to be earned. Don't you agree?
Yes, because you need to know how to apply it, which is wisdom.
Yeah. Well, here's like this. Here, I have a book. This book is full of knowledge.
Yes, it is.
You read it, you will be wiser for it.
True.
Okay. How many people out there? Come on, I want to straighten the hands. Who's read this big thick book, right, cover to cover? Huh? Hey, who's read this book? Come on. Anybody? I'm listening. Anybody? Again, Bueller.
Mm-hmm.
you know the movie I'm talking about. Anyway, the point is that big thick book like that, full of knowledge, yes. But so many people will get that, look through it, read a couple of chapters. See, Chloe says, I don't read any books. Well, that's the thing. Chloe, I'm sad. You make me sad now. The reason, why do we read books? Lucky, why do we read books? Why do they write books?
Because I'm insane. No, we read books just to get the knowledge and basically know how to use the knowledge and apply it in the right direction. That's what we read books for, to apply them. I mean, I have lots of books around me at all times.
Yes.
But have I read this book? I've looked through it, but this book has so much detail in it that I don't know how anyone's going to be able to apply a lot of it, because a lot of it is you read it another time. I mean, I have books that I've read a couple of times, and each time I read it, something new comes out of it. And it hasn't changed unless you talk the Mandela effect or something like that with the collateral and changing my book on me. But
that you hit the nail on the head. That's what I was trying to get at. The thing is, with a book, no matter how many years or days go by, that book will say the exact same knowledge, preserved forever, word for word in that book. The world around us changes. Things, history changes. I know that for a fact because I have all these old history books from the 1800s. And you read the same thing, and it's tweaked, it's changed just a little bit. A little bit here and a little bit there. And when we read, so what's trapped in that book is a flash of history as it's there right now from whoever wrote it, their opinion, and it's locked in that book in print forever. That's what I'm getting at. I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because now 100 years from now, this knowledge in this book can be passed down to somebody 500 years from now, and they will read the same thing that I did. Yeah. Hopefully, exactly. And that's where we get into things with like the Bible. You were talking about the scribes, how they translated word for word, but then eventually they translated other languages. And the monks sat there trying to decipher one language from another and then filling in the blanks when they didn't understand. Because it may have been a book from hundreds of years ago with language that died out. Mm-hmm. And how do you translate that?
That's the truth. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of things were in Greek. The problem was when you get Aramaic, and then you get to Rome. It's things modify, things change over the. Latin. We still have Latin only because the church keeps it going, but it's a dead language. No one speaks it. No. They can read it, but do they really know what it means? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
I got a good one here. Pod Joe chimed in. Thanks for being here, Pod Joe. I think I disagree with him. It says books haven't made the world a better place. If you can't put the knowledge to use, it's just trivial. I tend to disagree. Books have made this a better place because it's knowledge. Like if I wrote a book today and it was on how to build a car, and and I passed that along and I died, you would still have that knowledge on how to build a car. Whereas if I didn't write that book, you just have to hope that I pass that knowledge down to a journeyman or somebody who is following me, or my children or something. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. And there are things that we don't know about the past. Like everyone knew what the real name for bears were, but no one would say it because they believe if you say the secret word for bear, that a bear will come out of the woods and come after you. So they used the word the brown one, which is what we use, bear, which literally means the brown one. And we still have no idea what the word was before medieval times when they popped in the word bear. And there was another one where, I actually bought it. It's basically this thing in ancient Rome that they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these little trinkets. And they have no idea what it was used for, because probably back then everyone had one. Everyone knew what it was, but you didn't need to write it down because everyone knew about it already. So you're right. So as long as we write our books, 300 years, 400, 1,000 years in the future, if you go, oh yeah, they had cars. What's a car? They have books back then. We can look at their books and know what a car was back then.
Yeah. But Chloe says, but that doesn't mean I could go build a car. Maybe you can't go build a car, Chloe, but somebody could if they had the blueprints, or an engineer would say, or somebody smart enough. That's, again, that comes in with the knowledge. I can't go build a rocket ship and fly to the moon, but somebody's writing the schematics on rockets and going to the moon and that information down somewhere so that other people can follow in those footsteps who are knowledgeable in that stuff. They study that stuff. Okay, we'll go. I know here, we'll just go something with everybody understands right now. People don't understand about building a car. But how about the signs of the zodiac? Now, there's plenty of books on that. There's charts on that. But what if nobody ever wrote it down and they just pointed to the stars and everybody said, well, there's Taurus and there's Libra, and well, if you didn't get past that knowledge, your father died and he didn't take you to the top of a mountain on a dark night, you wouldn't get that knowledge, and you would have no idea where that constellations, the zodiac signs, and whatever is. Now, if you had a book, you say, well, he died, but he left a book, and now I can go up on the mountain and I can do it myself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Because we could still be using horoscopes for hundreds and hundreds of years, but if we didn't know, write down where the constellation was for that horoscope, whatever, that being the your horoscope person, whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly.
We would know it's up in the sky somewhere. I know it's burning the right day, but I don't know if where it is in the sky. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because honestly, those constellations are just dots, and to them, they knew what those connected dots were. But for us, connecting those dots is like, it looks like a W, not a constellation. But they knew exactly. Although Big Dipper does look like a Big Dipper, but it's actually Ursa, which is Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. Maybe they use Ursa. I don't. What does Ursa mean? Forget it. That's not here and there. But again, the Big Dipper, Little Dipper do not look like bears to me, but they look like dippers. That's good. So, yeah. See, but without knowledge, we wouldn't know that Ursa Major, Ursa Minor are also called the Big Dipper. We would think they're two different constellations, and we wouldn't be able to find, the bears. Where the heck are the bears in the sky? There's supposed to be two bears in the sky. I see the dippers, but I don't see bears.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get back to Hermetica. What's the parts of the Hermetica, the major themes? Universe is mental. I think a lot of us have heard all of this before, but I'm going to repeat it again so you can remember. The universal is mental. It's all is mind. God is the one, the source of all. That doesn't mean it has to be a person either. It's not about, it could be everything that surrounds you. It could be the source of all. What we just don't have a word or name or face for it. Humans want to put faces and names to everything. Humanity has a divine spark within, but forgets it due to material entrapment. There we go again, material entrapment. Yeah. And the gnosis, the inner knowing. We can remember our divine origin and ascent back to the source. Yes. And of course, if we didn't have the text, the Emerald Tablet text, as so below, so above, so below, so within, so without, if that text had been wrote down, people would have forgot it by now. They would have changed it. They would have, I like it saying this instead of that. But once it's in text, it's always the same. It's always the same.
Yes, people like to say, as above, so below, as within, so without. It goes on and on with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where I don't understand. I'll be flat out. Every time someone explains it to me, it might be too simple for my little brain, or I just might be overthinking it, but I just don't understand how that works. But again, that's just me. So yeah. But without the book, they explain it each time. But I have to keep reading it to get something that's going to work for me. Even though it's the same thing over and over again, I've got to read the paragraph again to understand, okay, what does this mean and how can I apply it to me? Then eventually I'll get it at some point, I imagine.
Yes. So what does it mean to you? I want your description of it. Now I have to give you my description of it.
What, as above, so below?
Yes.
It means I guess the idea is that we're a mirror, that with the spiritual realm is a mirror for the physical realm. And whatever happens in the physical realm will happen in the spiritual realm. But that's what they say. But to me, that sucks. Because it should be independent. We shouldn't, everything should not be, that would mean that, you know, it'd be layer upon layer and it's all the same. But I don't want it to be the same. I want to be different and, you know, learn and grow. I don't know. That's what I get. And again, it frustrates the hell out of me. Maybe your idea will help me feel better. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always thought, you know, that it means, I've always referred it to a pyramid, and everything around us is a pyramid. You know, when you go to work, there's guys on the bottom, and they work their way up, and they're managers and supervisors and plant managers and, you know, vice presidents and presidents and then senior vice presidents, and then the CEO is on top. And then even he ain't the big boss, because then there's another company that owns that company. And, you know, he reports to somebody, everybody reports to somebody else. But it's no matter how much you look up the ladder or look down the ladder, it's always the same, because I may not really know who the real big boss is. Neither does the big boss realize who I am either. He's never heard of me. He don't know what's going on. He has no idea. And then if you look at the animal world, there's always the pyramid scheme there. You have the bugs. You have the animals that eat the bugs, and the animals that eat those animals that eat the bugs, that, you know, and the animals that eat the bugs, you know, and then it moves up till you get to the lion or the bear. They're top of the food chain until humans come along. Then we're the top of the food chain. And so forth and so on. But who do we report to? Oh, well, apparently we report to people too. And then it works its way up through government and people. And then who knows, you know, some religious factor gets thrown in the mix. But then who are we to say, even when you look in the universe, you know, you have the sun and all the planets revolve around it. Pyramid, bigger to little. You don't have a little sun out there revolving around Earth. You have a big sun, and Earth revolves around the big sun. He's the big boss. And when you really, really think about it, if everything works that way, then why wouldn't the other side work pretty much the same way? Should it be any different?
That is interesting, but for me, I would hope that they're a little bit more enlightened than we are, knowledgeable, wisdom. But if it's just a copy upon a copy upon a copy, then why would I want to go to the next realm? That's a good point. Because everyone's talking about, you know, going from the 3D to the 5D, or the 3D to the 7D, you know, ascending.
Yeah.
But if it's the same above is in below, or what is above is below, what is below is above, why bother? Because it's the same up there anyways.
Yes. Well, but the thing is once we realize that, and you do cross over, well, wouldn't you have like a little head start if you actually knew that? Or are you going to be a bottom, you know, the rung guy and have to work your way up? Now, if you learned your lessons here correctly, I think that's this whole thing is a schooling. I mean, obviously, you get the schooling and then you graduate and go to college. Once you graduate and go to college, you know, what do you do in college? You earn a degree, and then there's a master's degree and a bachelor's degree and and you pile on those degrees as you climb up the ladder. And eventually you get so smart, heck, you might be a professor yourself. See what I'm saying? And then you become the dean of the college because you did all those things and you work your way up to the top. Correct? Somebody reports to somebody.
Yeah, you're right. Somebody does report to somebody.
But that doesn't mean we don't have good lives and we're living. We can live and enjoy ourselves and have a meaningful life but we have to learn and get that knowledge so that when we do cross over, if you're, a janitor today, maybe next time you could be better on the other side and move up. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
It makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, you hear these kids in college. Somebody was saying that the other day, and I forget who it was, and said, yeah, the kid was in high school, and then when they graduated, they had already taken all these things, and they moved in, and all of a sudden, instead of being a freshman, they became a sophomore right away. Well, how do you do that? Well, you study really hard. You become the valedictorian, and you get all A's, and you take extra credit classes. And once you have all those credits, you can skip being a freshman and go right to being a junior or a sophomore. Is that not true?
Well, that's great on paper, but I've only got my bachelor's degree. But I work with PhDs and people with master's degrees, and I got to be honest, they don't know what they're talking about half the time because they cut their nose so far in a book that they don't know how to apply it. So, although they have the degrees and they make more money than me because they have that degree, I have to explain to them how to do their job more often than not. It's weird. So you're right. And this goes back to wisdom. And that's it is. The knowledge can only take you so far, but if you don't know how to apply it, well, you're a waste of my time.
Yeah. No, I'm right on it with you. I'm right there with you. That's maybe you don't know how to apply it. There's so many people out there. Hermetic principles. I think we're on a correspondence as below. Vibration, everyone moves, nothing rests. Polarity, everything has its opposite. Rhythm, everything rises and falls. We go to the cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. And gender, masculine and feminine are all in all the things. And now, if we had taken classes when I was younger and learned about all of these things, you could pretty much fill up a year worth of study on all of those 7 subjects. Because right now, I can tell you right now, and most people really don't know anything about those things. They really don't. Half the people off the street couldn't tell you any of those 7, could they?
Well, the way the world is going right now, the 7th one, it'd be really hard because a lot of people don't believe in gender. And then, but it's one of those things where you see it, and it's like, I don't know, like a Far Side, like it's funny, it's humorous the way things are going, and this is reality. We should know what genders are and just be happy. Just because you don't want to follow your gender norm doesn't mean you're a different gender. You can't say that. I can't say I'm a female because I want to be a female. I am genetically a male. I have all the parts. But if I want to dress up like a woman and date men, that's fine. My prerogative. But in the end, I'm still a man unless I get surgery, which I don't think they have surgery either, just because, it's craziness. So yes, if we followed these and said, okay, these are not offensive, this is truth, we have to follow them, it would solve a lot of world's problems. You're right.
Yeah, but people aren't taught that. They're taught, to follow the script. Hey, kids, you remember the days? Get in line, get in line, do this. Everybody, it's lunchtime, get in line. It's time to go, ding, 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 the bell. You get to respond to the bell. You know what the bell is. Everybody get in line. Everybody do the same thing. Everybody, get on the bus, get off the bus. Time, get up, go to work. Oh, no, go to school. Sorry. It's go to school. They're conditioning all of us from children to ding, ding, ding. Oh, the alarm clock, get up, go to school. Ding, 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 go to work. And now you know how to read and write. You know how to do a job skill. And the ones who don't do those things fall to the wayside.
True. If they don't know how to apply the knowledge that they wasted, that's another thing, is that school basically wants you to be able to repeat things, but it's your priority, the parents' responsibility and the child's responsibility to figure this out and know how to apply it. So just because you're repeating it doesn't mean you know it, but you have to be able to apply it. I mean,
Yeah.
but I think it's also Generation X things. I think us Generation X tend to know everything because we had to. But as time went on, people, you know, our parents don't know how to use computers as well as we do. And our children
Yeah.
don't know how to use manual stuff, which I prefer over anything else.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And you know, it's great as long as the technology keeps going. But there, you know, if ever the technology stops, power goes out, the technology comes to a complete halt, the world is going to be in a bad place because, like you said, nobody knows how to do the hands-on stuff anymore. And I believe we're probably a generation or two away from people going, I don't know how to do anything. You know?
That's the truth. I was driving by today and I saw like it might have been a mid 80s Bronco.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I would love to get my hands on that. Because honestly, I mean, I have a 12, 13-year-old car myself, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, before I got to get it, because my car crashed, I had to drive a rental. And the rental had like keyless entry and keyless start and just all this stuff. I was on the highway and it would beep when a car passed me. I don't want that BS. I don't want any of that. I don't want to be able to drive my car without putting a key in the ignition. Because I was thinking to myself just today, I was thinking about that stupid rental car, that if I'm driving along and I'm with a psychopath who grabs the key from the center and just throws it out the door, will the car still run or will it just stop because the key's no longer in it? I have no idea what the answer. Or once I stop somebody somewhere, is the car dead until someone finds another key? I don't know. But just to want it. I like my key, although it's got a chip in the friggin' key, you know, so you can't start if you can't just go to this thing and get a new key.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Also, a friend of mine back in the 90s, they drove their car into a pond by accident and they were stuck in their car because they were electric windows. And I remember at the time that I had the roll down at a Ford Ranger with a roll down window, manual transmission. Love that car. Used that car forever. But my friend in the 90s got stuck in his car. Thank God it didn't sink. And he just waited for someone to come because this is before cell phones. But, you know, he was talking that he couldn't do anything. He was stuck in the car because it had electric. He was too stupid to unlock the door and open it. But that's people. Because you could because it had electric locks, but you could grab it and pick it up. But a lot of cars now don't even have that, where it's just a straight beam. So getting it out of their thing, you're stuck in that car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technology for you. So yeah, so old 70s, 80s cars, those are the things to get, because if there's a solar pulse, for the most part, those will probably still be driving. But most of the cars in the 2000s, all electronics, all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the more we complicate things, the less they're gonna work for a longer time too, you know, because it's more things to go wrong. Little by little they go wrong and they break. Wires don't last forever. You know, switches don't last forever. The power windows, the motors don't last forever. You know, so forth. Well, what do you think these electric cars are going to do? You think them first Teslas that rolled off the line are going to still be, you know, working in 50, 60 years?
The problem with those cars is they have lithium in them and they tend to explode.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I work, one of them went up. They still don't know what happened to it. It went up and it set like 5 other cars. It melted 5 other cars around it. And the fire department couldn't do anything because it just had to let it burn itself out. And they told everyone, get your cars out of the area. And it was just one of the things that just burned forever. And they still don't know what caused it. But the problem with those is it could be so many things. And once they start, they just burn. They just burn. Well, our gas cars, Once the gas is gone, then the plastic is gone. It's going to go out. It's just you can put it out. Whatever. It's electric cars. It's a silly idea. I mean, we got it's the hybrids. I'm okay with, but pure electric cars, I just don't see any benefits of them. I just honestly don't.
Yeah, it's a rough deal. I mean, if they had better batteries that were safer, maybe lasted longer. I don't know, quicker way to charge or something. I don't know. Somebody's got to think of something. But right now, I think it's great if you lived in the city and you only had to drive a little ways. But if you were like here, I'm in the country. It's 30 miles to town. It's 30 miles back, and there's nothing in between. If my car decides to not run so good and it runs out of battery, I'm done. And that's just one town. Anyway, so as we finish up here, we got a little time left. We didn't even jump into the pyramid things. Let's jump into the pyramids. Talk about the pyramids a little bit. And of course, according to Manly P. Hall in The Secret Teaching of All Ages, he presents a compelling alternative view of the Great Pyramid of Giza, not as a tomb for dead kings, but a living temple for spiritual transformation. He says that it was originally designed and used by ancient priesthoods in the initiation of the soul, not a burial of bodies. Of course, they've never found any bodies in pyramids. They found nothing. According to Hall, the interior chambers, especially the king's chamber and the queen's chamber and the ascending passage, were not random architecture features. Each space had symbolic and energetic significance in the journey of an initiate. The pyramid's geometry, materials, and internal acoustics were intentionally constructed to simulate cosmic forces and invoke a heightened state of spiritual awareness. What do you have to say with that?
Well, it is fascinating because they would spend 3 days inside the pyramid and they had to have at least water. But besides that, because there's no sound, it's just thick rock. It's just you with your own thoughts. It must be, because I think that's the thing. If you could just sit by yourself with your own thoughts, you're either going to go crazy or you're going to learn about yourselves and others. And that's the thing. They either came out crazy or they came out enlightened. So it is interesting.
Well, most of these famous prophets, they did a lot of their contemplating or thinking inside caves.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why? Why would they go in a cave?
Oh, it's simple. So it takes you away from everything. There's no sound. There's nothing. That's it.
Yes. And that's something that we today don't do. People go from the city and they go out to the country to to a park or somewhere where there ain't telephone lines and cars and traffic, and they're like, wow, my whole life is changing. This is so great. I feel so recharged. And that's just going where the birds are chirping, and it's halfway quiet. Imagine if you were in a cave, how much you could change your life. Like you said, crazy, or you would be enlightened, one or the other.
Right. I mean, you got to find out who you are.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. 1 Million Pumpkins says Gothic cathedrals were also designed to elicit spiritual experience. Isn't that?
Elicit.
Okay.
Gain.
Okay. I'm glad you can
receive.
These things. What do you think of that?
It is, but the Gothic cathedrals are opposite. You went with rhythm, rhyme, sound waves, rhythm. Everything rises and falls with rhythm. It is amazing what sound can do. That's what the cathedrals, they were made so sound would resonate. So the chorus and the music would come together and rise people up, and they would play at a certain frequency. It's all amazing. And then you would you can get high from the sounds. That's just amazing when you just let go and this kind of thing. And that's what they had back then. They knew how to build a building to have the sound bounce off and produce and really get everyone involved in it. It is interesting. I mean, I have been in some of those old cathedrals, and they're amazing. I mean, I grew up in a town when they built one that they tried to copy a European one, and it was just fascinating. And they didn't get it right, so they had to call someone expert, from a stonemason from across the pond, to come in and fix it. And although that's the thing, knowledge and power, knowledge and wisdom. So they had the knowledge. They said, okay, here's the architectural plans. We built exactly what it says in the plans. We got everything right, but you didn't, because they had someone who knows how to, and they ended up having to do certain things material-wise. And they got close, maybe 85-90% of what the one in Europe did. But again, they were very happy to have something close to it.
Yeah. Oh, and that's true. Have you ever been to any of those cathedrals in Europe or England?
I have never been over in Europe or England. I've always been in the United States.
I have.
Or Asia.
I went to England and that's kind of what you do there, I guess. So we stopped at a bunch of those, and man, magnificent. All I kept thinking is, this place is humongous. And the slightest sound, I could whisper, and it would sound like I was yelling, and you could hear what other people were saying from 40 feet away. They're like, shh. There was no secrets, because you could hear what everybody said, no matter how low a tone. It sounded like it was ringing in your ear. And every footstep, it was kind of, when people were walking around, it was really loud, but it was very interesting. I wish I knew all the things I know now. Back then, boy, I would have been more into looking at things and seeing what was going on. I was just a dumb kid, walking, wow, this is really cool, But I'm glad to have the experience, put it that way.
Yeah, true. I mean, it is interesting. I mean, how they design things and sound can resonate. I mean, Washington, D.C., I think the building, the original Congress, you could hear so well. Someone could be across the room, and the way the sound would bounce off, you could hear a person speaking, whispering, because it would bounce off the walls, and it was like a science thing. Yeah. Fascinating. But yeah, these are people who knew how to build things and how sound resonates and how sound bounces off of things, and fascinating. But again, that came from wisdom, experience. I mean, you can have so much knowledge, and eventually you go, well, I did everything right, but we don't have the sound bouncing off anywhere, because you can only you need to keep doing it till you get it right.
Well, see, the thing is we technologied ourselves right out. I don't even know if that's a word, but technologied ourselves right out of that stuff, because back in the day, you make that big cathedral, and you got the priest or whoever's up there speaking, and the person in the back is hearing them as clear as day. Mm-hmm. But today, we don't need that, because we got, speakers and a microphone, and the guy in the back can still hear him as clear as day. Because, there's a speaker back there. So, yeah.
There's a hall. It's called Mechanics Hall in my city. It's a music hall. Yep. And they told the singer, it's of course the state of the art. Loudspeakers there. And they told the singer, if you do this right, you don't need all electronics. One of his last sets, he did it. He turned all the sound down, took the microphone away, and stood in the right spot, and then sang. And it was amazing that everyone could hear it. And we have assistants back, and they were just amazed. And he said that if I come back here again, I'm not going to use the microphone. I'm going to do this again, because the sound was so much better, because the building was made for it. Of course, the building was a couple hundred years old, and it was kept up with keeping it nice. But of course, it's state of the art, so they have all the speakers and all the the lights and everything state of the art. But it's still the same building that still has the ability to resonate the sounds better than any electronic microphone can do.
Yeah, imagine the knowledge those people back in the day. Today, I swear the best engineers out there could not build something like that. They would build a building, but they would have no idea how to make the sounds.
Because these people had to know how to do that, because back then there wasn't electronic. It was too expensive or just didn't exist. So that's when they needed to keep trying and keep practicing and maybe move things around till they get the right sounds where they need to be, and then they win. But now with the electronic loudspeakers and microphones and everything, and it fixes everything. So, we don't need that ability. We don't need that. But if we lose it all, we're in trouble. That's it.
Well,
it's a sign of doing its doing. We're in trouble.
And that goes back to, nobody ever wrote it down how and why those things work. And then in the future, we're going to have to learn all that stuff over again, because hence it's not in a book.
Well, here's a funny thing. Notre Dame in Paris burned down. They did not know how to rebuild it, but a game designer got permission to take photographs, 3D photographs everywhere. So although they did have, the plans, they didn't have the precise plans. And the game designer shared his pictures of Notre Dame, which in his game, which was Assassin's Creed, which is fascinating to me. And they would not have been able to fix Notre Dame without the game designer, because he had everything meticulously put out that the books, again, you can't get, because they didn't understand some of the stuff, some of the dimensions and stuff like that. But the game designer, because they had everything down to the millimeter in the images, fascinating. 3D. So technology saved the new Notre Dame, or the rebuilt Notre Dame. Without it, we would just have a copy that wasn't what it was originally. Fascinating. That's a fascinating thing.
That is fascinating. Wow. Let's see here. 1 Million Pumpkin says Notre Dame burnt down, even though 800-year-old oak beams should never have ignited from the weak electrical problems. It was France. It was France's 9/11. Interesting.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. Never know. Never know. Anyway.
Hypothetically, because we don't want to upset anybody, because please, YouTube gods, don't bother me.
That's right. And with that, we should probably wrap up the show for tonight. Next week, we'll be jumping in with the next 2 chapters of The Secret Teachings of Manly P. Hall and the Secret of All Ages. This is a fascinating book, and I swear each 2 chapters we go through has so many things to talk about. And as you can see by my book, I got a bunch of markers in here already from fascinating stuff I found. And I want to jump to those things, but I keep telling myself, no, don't jump around. Just read it straight through. Otherwise, we're going to skip important parts or something that might be worth talking about.
True. We don't want to lose some of the information.
Yes, exactly. Now, I encourage everybody to go out and get that book. And if you can't read that book, like Chloe, I'm not a reader. Just go get on YouTube. There's a channel. Just put in, search for Manly P. Hall books or something like that, and it'll come up, Secret of Teaching of All Ages. And you just listen on audio. Sure, you'll have to do the commercials unless you got a paid subscription or something. But with that, you'll learn a lot. Just that's what I've been doing, listening to a lot of it all. Trying to get through it while I'm driving. It's all good. It's all good. What do you got coming up in the future here?
Me, I have no idea. You know me, because I have a job, so everything I do is just seat of the pants. I have a list of stuff. I have a list of subjects, but the ones I use tend to be, this one sounds good, and go from there. So I don't know what next week. I have no idea what next week even is, honestly.
Oh,
I just do whatever feels good.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And like I said, comments, questions. If you'd like to join us on the show and talk about Manly P. Hall and the secret teachings, give me a holler or a shout out and join us. Because I'm sure there's other people out there that got knowledge just as we do. And we're here to share that knowledge. I'm not here to read the book and then just keep all the knowledge myself. I want to share it out. And I'm hoping that, if I can touch one person out there that says, hey, I learned something, my day is made. Yes. And like Lucky, I got a job too. And it makes it really difficult, but I do my best. Join me tomorrow night, though, before I forget. A big shout out to EA Quitting. Thank you for coming in here tonight. Thank you. But anyway, we got Let's Talk tomorrow night on the Sunday show on Nina's channel. Go over there. Link is in the description below. Go over there tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time and check us out. We're going to be talking about Planet X and Nibiru. And I got I don't know if you ever heard of Bob Fletcher. I have a CD from 20 years ago where Bob Fletcher talks about what's going on today. Amazing. Wow. Maybe it's more than 20 years ago. God, I got that CD maybe even more than that. But anyway, join us over on Nina's channel tomorrow night. And then, of course, Tuesday night with David Null for Native American Myths and Legends. As always, he'll be telling a great story back from his eye surgery, so he'll be actually able to see the words. So with all of that, people, I hope you're doing something great this summer, making memories. Remember, it's not about the material world out there. It's about the inner world, the world around you. Learn something, do something, experience something. Every memory you make is wisdom. It doesn't have to be all written, but wisdom comes in every sort of way. So with that, remember to be the frequency. Oh, wait a minute. And before you say that, before you say go, guess what? Nina's put up some new t-shirts in the Streamlabs store. Go over there and get your new Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt with Be the Frequency you want to receive on it too. So check that one out. Now I got all my plugs in there. I don't make anything off the shirts, but so just go over there and get your shirt. I want to see what everybody thinks of the new shirt too. So check it out. With that, Be the Frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love you all. Peace, everybody.